It's an evil world we live in.
So to me, men who are coming out and enforcing the submission, look for a fault in yourself.
No, that's why I was saying.
Okay, continuing off from what I was saying earlier about how Polish girls, Polish women are traditional Jews, especially due to the Catholic background. I was saying it's different now, and I was saying the difference is, again, which you agreed that them stepping away from the Catholic aspect of it, and that's definitely changed the...
I think religion is huge with everything that we are talking about. Also, we live in, here is a capital. If you went to smaller cities or villages, that might differentiate.
Very true.
So that also is like a perspective of a city, which I also have to remind myself sometimes of as a Polish person living in the capital, that the impressions that I have from living here is not necessarily representative for the whole Poland. And I'll tell you why. Because sometimes I'm like, how is it possible? I look around, everybody thinks like this or does this. And then by statistics or some other things, it turns out that most of the country sees things or thinks about things differently. So I'm just saying that even when you have statistics, you have like the size of the city and all of this. So I don't disagree. I think that with everything that we are talking about, religion is also a very strong factor. Yeah.
To bring the discussion back to that point where you said, okay, so let's focus on the women in like capital city, for example, and relationships in general and how it's affecting relationships. I was mentioning earlier, you mentioned that dating is now different. Like, for example, how households can no longer function from a single person income, and both men and women have to work in order to sustain the household, and how that has impacted gender roles. You mentioned that you can't expect a woman to cook, to come
not
home.
Not like cook, but I just mean you can't expect her to only cook, because I would want to believe that in a relationship where both of you are working hard 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you wouldn't expect her to then come and take on another work without your help. Like just cook, clean, take care of kids by herself. I would want to believe that as a man who loves that woman, you want to participate in all of this because it's also your house and your kids and your mess or not.
I think that works to a certain degree, but you also have to remember that at the end of the day, you are the wife. In as much as, yes, you're both working, yes, he's supposed to help and whatnot. When you look at the roles that you're supposed to do as a wife, this is something that you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make sure that your husband is fed. So yes, we go out, we leave the house at 8. You go do what you're doing, I go do what I'm doing. I finish work at 4, you finish work at 4, we come home. I'm just naturally going to be in the kitchen. I'll give you an example for my parents. When I was in Zim last year, my mom was working, my dad works. My little sister was going to school. Now I'd mostly be home doing nothing. But when we all went out, or when I was visiting a relative, or when I was at my sister's house, my mom, even though she was at work the whole day, when she got home, she would cook. Yes, my dad would help some days there and then, but it's not like he's sitting back because he doesn't love his wife. But that's the role she's supposed to play.
I'm not saying that he doesn't love her if he doesn't help. I'm just saying that I feel from my perspective that if you love somebody and you see like they're knackered, like I can give you an example of just seeing one person doing it all. Like I told you guys, again, I'm using my own example, but I've seen my mom doing it all. I wish there was somebody to just take some weight off her back at times. So even if there was a man in the household, if my father didn't pass away, I feel like if she came back home tired, exhausted, emotionally, drained, that he would see that and just be at times like, okay, today I'm doing this. Today I'm going to do everything for you. It goes both ways.
I agree with you. Sometimes in theory, what you're saying works, but the reality of the situation is that most men, sadly, do not recognize the signs you're talking about. It takes a different kind of man to really say, oh, damn, my wife is tired today. And sadly, most men don't do that, not because they don't care, but they're just not, they didn't grow up to be trained to look for things like that. You get it?
So, like,
Well, let
would
me
it be nice?
before.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you can ask your question.
So, like, with that being said, I can agree that there's some type of reality, but a possibility of, like, let's say, raising my son to love his wife and being there for her, like, wrong word. It's not that they don't love. I'm saying there's a possibility of me to raise my son to be a little bit sensitive to that,
Yes.
so that his wife can, take rest sometimes.
Yes, I'll
And
give you an
she
example.
can support him
Let
when
me
he
add on
needs
to what
her.
you said earlier first. So here's my point of view. I was mentioning this earlier. When it comes to a relationship, the foundations of it have to be roles based. So yes, economy has changed. The world as it functions today has changed. So both people go to work. It's no longer the guy going to work and the woman staying at home. So the whole dynamic has had to change. But the reality of it is it has to be based on a foundation of roles. So what I mean by that is no one person can see 360 degrees. We can see roughly 180. And in a relationship, the idea is to stand back to back.
Does it have to be the same roles?
No, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same roles. My point is we have to stand back to back. And by back to back, it means you watch the other 180, I watch this 180. Yes, occasionally you can have something happening in life, situations can happen. I can turn around and scratch your back. But I am aware that I have my 180 to watch. I turn back and I watch my 180. You can occasionally turn around and scratch my back.
But you know what was interesting to me?
Let me finish making that point, and then you turn around and watch your point, your point, and what that does, which is a big problem now, is that it is clear in everyone's minds who stands where and who does what. So it's kind of like expectations of everyone. So if as a guy, I was giving an example of how it is for me at home, right? When I'm at home, the girls do not, like, as long as I'm at home, the girls do not go grocery shopping because you'd have to walk to the shop, sometimes early morning, sometimes late evening. They do not. And when they are home, after I bring the groceries, they make the groceries whilst I go throw out the bins or something like that. And what I mean by back to back is that there are certain things, say, for example, physical, heavy duty stuff that a man generally ends up doing. If he's aware of his role as a man within the relationship and he focuses on that and she focuses on that. So when you come back from work, the two of you, it's been a long day. He knows when I get home, there needs to be groceries in the house. It's his responsibility. For example, just a general example, it's his responsibility to go out at night, make sure he gets the groceries and so she doesn't feel unsafe or anything like that.
But
and then
I
when
don't
he brings the
disagree with
groceries
this.
home,
The only thing
she
I
cooks.
think about this is that every household has different rules, and it's solely based off of their reality in that house. Because that father might have a back problem, let's say. So he will have different set of rules.
Of course.
But generally, what was interesting to me, I saw these videos on YouTube on big families where people have like 16, 18 kids or something like this. And one of them was asked, how do you make this work? And the wife said, because we are a well-oiled team and machine. So they just have to split the responsibilities in a very practical day-to-day life because they have 16 kids. That's not one, that's not two. It's almost like a company where everybody has to have their role assigned in order to keep order in the house so that everybody gets fed, so that children go to school on time. So it was interesting for me to observe that because I feel like every household works in the same way. It just depends on, like, if you had less kids, then you could split those responsibilities differently. If a wife was sick, then you would split it differently. If a husband was sick, you would split it differently. And then there is one more thing. I believe that there is no specific set of rules that needs to be the same from every household. You both have mouths. You can talk. If I don't like cleaning and you like cleaning, then you clean. If I like cooking and you don't like cooking, then I cook. And we can split it in a way where everybody is happy. We don't have to just assume that just because you're a man or a woman, you have to do those things. It can still be a conversation. Don't you think so?
No, what you're saying is completely true, and I agree with you. I'll give you an example of my sister, with her husband. One thing my sister never grew up doing was laundry, because Africa, you use hands. We don't have, well, we do have washing machines, but most households don't have washing machines. So you wash with your hands. She grew up doing the dishes, but it's not like something that she likes doing. So in her household, when it's her and her husband, or even when I'm around, the husband would wash the dishes and should be there in the kitchen keeping him company, not because he has to, but one statement he always used was, when I married my wife, I knew she doesn't like doing the dishes. I knew that she doesn't do laundry. So he would tell his wife, look for someone to do the laundry, because I don't want to do it. You don't like doing it, so just get someone you pay. They will do the laundry. Get someone to come and clean the house for you, because you don't like waking up early and cleaning. So have someone do that for you. So yes, I agree. It's very, very, very different in every household. But you have to appreciate that there's one thing that all the households have in common. If it's a well-oiled machine, as you say, or team or whatever it is, there is communication. People
Agreed.
communicate.
Yes.
Babe, I don't like doing this. I don't like doing that. Oh, okay, no. This is what I can do for you in regards to this
Let
situation.
me ask you a follow-up question. As much as he helps wash the dishes, as much as they communicate well and they do everything together,
Yes.
would you deny the fact that if it so happens that at any point is like, today I'm not washing the dishes, taking care of the house, she takes as her responsibility as the mother of the house?
Yes.
And so he helps, and they work together as a team. But at the end of the day, the roles are defined such that when someone...
But who else would do it? There is two of them. If she doesn't want to do it, he knows it, he does it. If he's tired, he tells her, I'm tired, she does it.
But here's the difference now. Here's the difference. In that, when your roles are defined, it turns into a responsibility. So for one person, it's optional. For the other, it's a responsibility.
Yeah.
So in that case, making sure the house is fed, especially in African cultures, making sure the house is fed is the mother of the house's responsibility.
Yep.
Okay.
Whenever the father, if they are a well-oiled machine, like you said, she can freely go to her husband and say, today I'm tired. You'll be like, not a problem, honey, we're going to order in. Or she can be, for what we did back home with
But
my
this is
dad.
your both sister.
Yeah. What we did at home, for example, Sundays, we always had this thing where it's like it's boys' day in the kitchen. And then me and my dad would be in the kitchen experimenting with food and doing all this and so on. But if we were to say, we can't today, we're going out to drink or whatever, no one would be like, no, what not, so. Because it's the mother's responsibility to make sure the house is fed. And we had our own responsibilities that, as much as, like, whenever no one wants to do it, it's my responsibility. I can be like, can you go to the shops today? I'm exhausted. If she's like, yeah, sure, I'll go, I don't mind.
But
she can go.
aren't we coming from the first point of, you guys, before you get married, you date. Before you get married, you get engaged. You get to know each other.
Of course, yeah.
There is this communication of who wants to do what. You really don't have to, like, just tell somebody to do something. Like you said, like, basically those are the roles that they established between each other. Let's say if they didn't establish it, there was a culture in Zimbabwe that says that one person or has this type of responsibilities and the other responsibilities. I don't fight with that. I'm just saying that within that and that culture, there can still be a communication, and that household can still decide to work differently.
Now I'll point out where the problem is. Because this started when we were talking about in Poland, right? And the experiences we've had, right? Yes, we're talking capital city, but the experiences within the capital city. And here I would speak for a majority of the guys I have known since coming here, who've dated like Polish girls and so on. And when we sit down and we talk about our relationships,
I'm looking at the guys. because
Yeah,
I'm
no,
trying
they will
to- And I'm
confirm.
not saying they don't.
They
I'm
will
just
they will
looking at them.
confirm.
I'm like, okay.
When we sit down and we talk about these relationships, there's something, especially let's say in the roles aspect of it. One statement that always came up is 50-50. And then we are like, we don't disagree with 50-50. But here's the problem when it's not, when, like, you remember that example you gave, like when one person doesn't want to do it, another one can, and so on. The problem with this kind of 50-50 is that no one has any actual responsibility. It's just kind of like 50-50. And when nothing is defined like that, what happens is guaranteed one person ends up watching more than just that 180 degrees. One person has to now start covering for someone because whenever they don't feel like it, it's not a
But
responsibility.
you guys couldn't talk about it?
Look,
That's the beauty
I
of
think-
it.
I
As
think-
much as you do, there's this whole, hey, it's 50-50. Hey, but today I don't feel like it. And if it's not viewed as a responsibility, it's, you see, a responsibility is something you take upon yourself to be like, this is my responsibility. The moment I speak of something as a responsibility to you and you don't take it upon yourself as a responsibility, I could come to you and be like, hey, you know I'm covering this. This is your responsibility. If you don't see it as your responsibility, it's always going to come across as if I'm pushing it on you. And whenever you don't feel like it and I come to you and say that's your responsibility, you're instantly going to have negative feelings towards that because I'm constantly pushing something on you.
I
Whereas
agree
if
with
you
this.
took it as your responsibility, I wouldn't even have to come and be pointing fingers and saying, hey, hey, hey,
I
and
agree
reminding
with
you.
this, but it's
That's
I
the
feel
problem.
like it's all about, like you said,
Communication.
communication.
Yeah, but
And
communication
establishing
can.
certain rules, because
but
like when people live in
communication
Poland
can go
together
in-
and they are not in a relationship,
But-
flatmates, they almost always have a list of toilet, kitchen, this, that, and they just have a week. This week this person does it, next week that person does it, and it's obvious. There's no fighting with the chart. And I feel like the same thing. I'm not saying it has to be a paper, but like, I don't know what's wrong. Like, it's a common sense to me. If you both have a house and you live in it,
Common
You
sense
want
is
it
no
to
longer
work.
common.
It's no longer common. And you have
It's
to
no longer
appreciate
common.
that, sadly, in this world, the way that you think, the way that I think, the way that Taffy thinks, as girls, it's very different. And I think in terms of dating, no matter if you're dating a Polish person, American, African, Islamic, Arabic, whatever, wherever they're coming from, it's important to realize that when you're dating someone, their culture is a big part of your dating.
amen.
That is very true. Like, you can't expect to date a black man and be like 50-50. But this black
I wouldn't
man,
say black because
African.
black are all around the
oh
world.
Yeah.
sorry,
so
okay,
African.
African. You can't
Mostly.
expect to date an African man and say 50-50. But this African man comes from a household where the girls do the dishes, they cook, they sweep. And now you want him to start sweeping because he's with you. It doesn't make sense.
I understand.
Also, you can't date a Polish girl and be like, I can't get you flowers. Flowers are expensive. But she comes from a culture where flowers are a big part of expressing love.
Mhm.
So adjustment is very important in a
Like, this
relationship.
is exactly one more thing, like intercultural dating,
Yes.
where all of you guys are you from one country? Zimbabwe?
No.
No.
But different African countries, but African countries.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all of you were talking about Polish women and saying you have the same problem. So without, but I'm just basing it on what
Yeah, like
what Brandon
specific
No,
problems.
I was just saying,
Not
like,
no, I
on-
said that. I did say that.
on what Brandon
did say
said, that
that.
you were
Specific
running into the
problems,
same
yeah.
problems. So I'm saying, if you guys, what is the common denominator? But all of them are Polish, so maybe let's think about like both ways. Like you said, one side cannot expect one to sweep if that's not in their culture, and the other side cannot expect Polish woman to change her whole culture. But I don't know, like,
But
it's
you see,
really
I think that's the
communication.
problem. That word or that act or that thought about expectations, that is I've had this conversation with a few of my friends.
Can I have some wine, please?
Can I have some water? That word expectations, that word is very dangerous, and that act and that thought is very dangerous. When you get into a relationship and you have expectations that you want this person that you're dating to meet, or you hoping that they can meet this expectation, it's very dangerous. Let someone love you, respect you the way that they want to do it.
Okay.
When you
I
force,
disagree with that.
you disagree.
Go on, I'll say after.
I feel like when you have to tell a person that I want to be loved like this, or you
But
should.
we know that there are different languages of love.
No, that's very true. But I'm just saying that when you've been dating someone for a specific number of months, years, and you still have to remind them,
True.
I guess they're only human. But I would expect that when I start dating someone or when I get into a relationship, I tell you, this is how I like to be loved.
I think it exposes a deeper truth as well, that you meet somebody and you just like them as a person. But then when you're dating, there's more things going into it, because before you get married or whatever, or ultimately you will have kids. Now it's going to be a debate. How are you going to raise these kids? So I just think that when you have kids, things change a
Things
little
change,
bit.
yeah.
And that there's more things that go into a relationship than just liking somebody. And their culture is a part of it. So if you don't accept somebody's culture, I don't think that the relationship can work out. Now, I've been taught in my life that a person works on their character their whole life. So it doesn't mean that you cannot, none of us is perfect. So it doesn't mean that you cannot be with somebody who is not perfect. But I feel as long as they are working on themselves, both sides, you're going somewhere. That's just how I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, you see, if you are talking, it's a misconception of this whole idea of someone should know does not work.
No, it's not should know.
And
She
wait,
says that
let
if
me,
she already
yeah,
said
I'm-
it, and
I was
they
going
keep
to-
doing the same
It's
thing.
I
not
was-
a
I was
matter
getting
of-
there.
Wait, I didn't get to finish.
Okay.
I'm not saying, Brandon, when you're with a girl, you should know instantly or what. But isn't it the first few months? We all know it's like honeymoon phase. You guys are still sweet on each other. What? Real conversations, really speaking,
Come later on, yeah.
come later on into the relationship, right? I feel like if you're doing something wrong, right, or something that I don't appreciate or like, or I feel like it's hindering our relationship, and I tell you once, twice, I should not have to tell you 3, 4 times that, listen, what you're doing is affecting me in this manner. The fact that I've already said it once or 2 times should be enough. That's when I say that I shouldn't have to constantly speak on something that is happening in the relationship. Because I feel like as an educated person, as a person who's grown up, who knows how to process emotions and whatnot, when I tell you something, you should be able to see, okay, no, she really doesn't appreciate it.
You were both talking about communication when it comes to this scenario of when you're in the household. You mentioned the checklist when you're staying, like say in a dorm or with a roommate, and then how it's supposed to be that straightforward and that simple when it comes to when you're with your partner. Once upon a time, I would say yes. Why? Again, because it was founded with those foundations. And because of those fixed foundations of, as a guy, you've got your specific expectations and roles. As a woman, you've got your specific expectations. It was easier to have those conversations of, hey, as a guy, like, this you should have covered. As a lady of the house, this you should have covered. However, what's now, or even in a dormitory situation, you've got a landlord who will come and say, get out of the house if you are not sticking up to the checklist. However, in a relationship where you're like, this is my partner, we are together, it's very easy to get comfortable. And we all know people get comfortable in relationships. Mm-hmm. And the point I was trying to make, especially in terms of...
But the house still needs to be clean and the food still needs to be cooked.
I agree. However, in today's world, what's happened is communication-wise, you are a rare species in terms of like you guys are a rare species in terms of being able to actually sit down and listen and have a conversation and be like, I disagree with this because I like this because, and so on. A majority of situations now, or situations that come across now, are you sit down, you want to point out a reality about something to someone, and people don't even want to have a conversation.
That's true,
And-
but it's also
and the
because we are
reality-
very polarized, even in our political opinions. I observed this in Poland, that we used to vote different people and still be able to be friends or hang out and stuff like this. Now it's impossible. And it's interesting. I think that it's not only down to women, men, but the conversation generally, where we just cut each other out, create bubbles, and we don't confront the different points of view. Not only females and males. I think that it's across the board. Can you talk with somebody like this who has a different point of view on politics with you?
I would love to, but no, they won't want to. Because
It's
that's what I
because
was.
confrontation is not nice. You don't want
Yeah, that's
someone to question your beliefs, to
Yes.
question what you feel like is right in your mind or heart or whatever. It's very uncomfortable to sit with someone who will tell you, no, I think your way of thinking and your way of your view of life is wrong. And you're like, wait, what? How dare you tell me that I'm wrong? But they're not necessarily saying you're wrong in that,
You see,
like that.
I call bullshit because because the
Well,
reality
thank
the
you.
reality of the matter is, no, actually, in an agreeing sense with what
Yeah.
you're saying, what happens is, like, my genuine belief, if you cannot sit there, take criticism for your beliefs and defend your beliefs, whatever you're saying is utter rubbish.
So let's raise our children differently. All of us, since we know this. And let's all make better humans in future. In my house,
I love-
my mom would encourage us to make our own opinions. When you started voting, she wouldn't discourage us from voting for somebody completely different than her. We would still talk, we would still clash, but it wouldn't be like when we kill each other. And I think maybe that's why right now
No,
some of you and
I
us,
love that. What you're saying is very beautiful. But can you
But it's
listen?
bullshit.
I call bullshit because listen, there may be 30-40% of people that we will meet in life, maybe coming from African countries, Asian countries, and what, who are currently people our age who are currently being raised in a household that doesn't see your mom's way of raising you as
I know.
appropriate.
I know.
So when we say yes, when we say let's raise our children to be better, that's beautiful.
But we
But
don't all
there's-
have to raise
but
them the same.
I
It's
ag-
only
I
bringing it down
agree.
to the point of
I
being
agree.
able to have a
But can
conversation.
you appreciate that your daughter in the future will probably get married to a man who's a dominant, who will say, "Good baby, I
If
agree
she's
with what
happy.
you're saying, but relax. That's not how we're doing it. We're doing it my way." Because he's coming from a household where his decision as the man of the house is the final and only decision that counts.
But if she likes it, if this is something that works for her, I'm talking about my possible future child. I don't
Yes.
have children. But I have a niece. If she chooses a man and she brings him to me and says, "This is my man, I
Mhm.
love him," I'm going to give every benefit of a doubt that she made the right choice.
Yes,
I have
And then
a-
if
but-
she
but
tells me
my-
she's happy,
But
Wait,
my
I
point
have
is
a-
my point is not about happiness.
I have a follow-up question to
My
this.
point is, okay, just hold on, sorry. My point is that in as much as we want to raise these beautiful children who appreciate other people's opinions, who will be respectful in the world, it's not necessary. That's not the reality that we live in. We here will talk, we'll laugh, we'll share food, like, and then there will be another person out there when we go out there, and then reality really strikes that not everyone is going to be nice. Not everyone is going to sit down.
but you don't have to
Listen
lie to your kid and tell them that
I'm
the
not
world
saying
is
let's
perfect.
lie, but I'm saying that in as much as we want to raise our children in this,
Other people want.
yes, we also have to prepare them for the
I agree.
actual reality that, listen, not everything is roses. When you're coming from this household where we can sit down and say, hey, why haven't you washed the dishes? I told you 30 minutes ago. And you say, oh, no, I'm sorry, mom. I was just finishing off this video. I didn't think it would be a problem. Let me do it right now. And then they stand up, they do it. It's not necessarily what's out there in the world.
I agree. And honestly,
so if we can prepare them for that, then yes, we are raising children that can then defend themselves emotionally.
I fully agree with you. I really do,
question.
because I feel like I'm just gonna, it will be quick and then you're gonna say
you can close
yourself.
off and then my follow-up
So
question.
I fully agree with you.
Okay.
I don't think that we need to lie to our kids, that we need to create the reality for them that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we also don't have to make them into this. Can I curse?
Yeah.
I love that. Can I?
to this fucked up people who are dismissive, who are mean, who are like, we can still try to give them the tools to be the best versions of themselves, but
Agreed.
not be like blind to the reality of the world.
Agreed.
Even as a woman, I can say that there are certain things, or as a Black woman, I can say that I want certain things to be different,
Mm-hmm.
but I also know the reality that I'm within.
Okay.
I live in Poland.
All right.
And I'm like one Black woman in any room that I walk into. I think that's probably you guys can relate most of the times.
Yeah.
So as much as I would want equality and everything being perfect, and that's what I'm striving for, and that's how I live my life, and that's how I treat other people,
Yeah.
there's my reality that I live in.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, let's not lie. Let's be real. This is the life. This is the real. People are fucked up. People are nice. But like, people can be fucked up in church. They can be fucked up on the street. Like,
Yeah.
people are
Everywhere.
just different. They
now
can
my
be.
now my follow-up question, right? We were all talking about communication, about how you should be in line with your partner and so on. There is one thing that as guys we've been facing, which is a huge thing right now, especially online, in social situations and so on, where as much as we say be communicative and be able to express your thoughts and what you think, there is basically an attack on masculinity, where there now seems to be a problem with guys expressing what most guys generally want or generally believe as guys. So, for example, wanting to be like, guys are generally competitive. We are competitive in every sense, and whenever we are in a room, we want to be the guy at the top of the room. And so in relationships, like he was saying earlier, when we are with our significant other, our partner, we are at war in every other room we step into. We don't want to go home to our partner and continue fighting. Hence why guys want a submissive feminine woman. However, anytime you go and you say, I want someone submissive, there's this whole, misogynist, whatnot, and so on. And we were talking about households earlier and how a household should be. And you mentioned about a guy being able to say, okay, I hear your point, I hear your opinion, but we are going this way because of this. And this whole idea of, as the guy, he's the leader in the relationship, and not in a disregarding sense of he doesn't listen to his partner or doesn't, take into account whatever they say, but to be able to say, I'm the leader, I will make the final decision. And for her to be able to be comfortable in saying, I chose you, you are the leader, you can make the final decision. However, that's not possible anymore. And it's made discussions in relationship significantly difficult, in that people are out there like, 50-50, we are equal. In our relationship, we can both make. No country has two presidents. No company has two CEOs. It does not make sense to have two leaders in a situation. And the submissive one naturally says, you know what?
Go ahead.
You are the leader. And let me finish that point. And the additional issue with that is then you've got women going, the ones who are not submissive, going, why should I be submissive to a man? Why can't I be the leader? And then it's like, you complain that a man can't be the leader. Why should you be submissive to him? And yet, women are the controllers of the sexual marketplace. Women choose.
Okay, so for example, me, I am a boss. I do a lot of things. I'm an entrepreneur.
The
I
boss
make my
bitch.
own money. I'm not a bitch. But when I was I identify as a boss.
Okay.
When I was I don't call people niggas and I don't call myself a bitch. But I guess sometimes if we joke with a friend, I'm not gonna act like I've
Yeah,
never said
that's
this
just-
before.
Yeah.
So, but I don't accept somebody calling me that. I'm not feeling comfortable with this. But anyway,
Don't call her bitch.
I am a boss. I am an entrepreneur. When I was 18, my mom also passed away. So since 18, I have to provide for myself. And I have to be strong out there because this is the world. It's not playing games as much as you all say about protection and everything. I was 18 and I had to fend for myself. I never had to fight physically, but I had to become an adult very quickly. And so that's my reality. Now, when I am with a man, I do want to get back and be able to be vulnerable, be weak with him, be in some way submissive. But I will never be submissive to a man who's going to abuse it. So I need to feel safe enough with that man in order to submit to him in
Yes.
certain way.
This is what I was saying before when I said that when you have a man in your presence who loves you, who respects you, who listens to you and considers your feelings, your thoughting, your thinking process and everything, and respects your background, how you grew up, and how the world has affected you as an individual. It's natural and it will come easily for you
That's
to
what I'm
submit.
saying.
Yes, I'm agreeing with
me,
you.
With
I'm
me
a-
being
I'm
a
agree-
boss,
Yes,
with me being a boss,
I'm
still
agreeing
sitting
with
here,
you.
and I know, but I'm saying that with me being a boss, I'm still sitting here, and I'm gonna say I like to be submissive in some way to my men because that's what I like.
Yes,
But
it's not the same for everyone. But I'm saying that if we can actually conduct an experiment, it would be beautiful. You will see that it doesn't matter how much money you have, how good your background is, or how shitty it is, or whatever. When you just find that person who would, they might not marry you in the end, but you can say that, now this man treated me amazing. You will naturally submit. So,
but that
so,
means
but
different things to different people.
Yes,
because to me it
submission
doesn't mean
is-
necessarily cleaning the dishes or something.
Exactly. That's why I said that submission is, it's different for everyone. It's a different kind of submission. You might find that if we actually do
It's not
a
different.
survey,
It's not different for men.
it's Brendan.
But it's not you
the way,
submitting, so-
listen, the way you want, the way you want. Listen, I feel like
let's go.
it's for all of you guys.
Let's go.
You guys, come on.
Let's
Like,
go.
The way I submit.
Let's go.
The way Brendan likes his.
Submission is submission. That is the misconception.
What?
You see this business of wanting to redefine statements.
No,
Submission is
we're
submission.
not-
There's no difference.
Listen, I'm not.
It's
I'm
one
not,
definition.
I'm not.
Okay,
I'm
let's
not.
go.
I'm not
Let's
saying
go.
let's rephrase it or
No.
let's.
But that's the thing. When you just fall, that's the thing. I'll speak again just quickly from my personal experience. I said about this whole submission thing. To me, it doesn't translate directly to me always cleaning the dishes or something. But I will say this: I don't feel like when you're that man for me, you have to force anything or tell me about anything. So to me, men who are coming out and enforcing the submission, look for a fault in yourself.
No, that's why I was saying that it doesn't work like that. That's why I'm saying that. Listen, when from my experience, when I'm treated correctly, like you don't even have to ask me, Kuti, what are we going to eat or whatnot. I will feel, not because I have to, but I'll just like, why wouldn't I want to feed why would I not? I'm a great cook. Why would I not want my man to eat beautiful food? I will cook for you. I dated a Zambian before. He was very beautiful to me. We would come from the same shift, maybe 10, 12 hours, but I would still want to, like, I want to feed you because you treat me well. You can rest. When you have a shorter shift, you can take over if you want to. It doesn't matter, but go rest. I'll cook.
But you also
Then I'll
can
do the
agree
dishes.
that this like
Can I also add,
this
guys?
is. I was just going to say that you also probably agree that this is like your way in this relationship, but this submission can come in different ways, and I know that you say that every man expects the same thing,
Not in that sense, but I will
but
explain
when
after.
it comes
Yeah.
to the submission
Mm.
and my personal experience, I very much disagree. I've had very strong men with me who
I'll explain what I mean.
Wait,
Can I
Staffy
add
wants to say
because
something.
I wanted to disagree with Brendan on the submitting part.
I love how you're like in the audience.
Go for it.
On the submitting part, yes,
Mm.
women, we have our ways of submitting, but men as well. Men emotionally submit to us. When you found the right woman, he will, you know, he can cry in front of you, and he's no, I'm saying I will actually say I can speak from
You
many.
see how you are feeling afraid of
numerous-
crying, but if your mom died,
It's
or
not
if something
fear.
strong
No, it's not
happened,
about
It's not
like,
fear.
you're just feeling it.
It's
But
not afraid
it's
of
just
crying.
feelings,
It's not being afraid
feelings.
of crying.
Nobody forces you to cry over shopping, but I mean, there are things in your life that might make you cry. I'm not
You
saying
should be
you
comfortable
personally,
enough.
but it can happen.
But can I
and
ask
then you're
Abdul-
It does
comfortable with
happen.
your woman.
Can I ask
to
Abdul
do
a
that.
question?
Wait, I had
Abdul,
a point
are
I
you-
wanted to make.
Sorry, let me just ask him a question. So, are you saying that if you found a girl who will love you correctly, you will still be guarded? Like, you will not feel safe enough to be vulnerable, like, oh my God, and then this happened.
Yeah.
I have never cried. I've loved a woman before, and I've never cried in front of her before. I've never had a
But
reason
did she
to
love
cry
you?
in
No,
front
but my
of her.
question is not that you loved her, but I'm saying, were you loved by her enough for you to feel safe to be that vulnerable?
Maybe I haven't experienced that yet.
You have not.
But
When you
let me-
have,
let me give-
you
let me-
will shed
I'll tell you one thing.
tears.
I'll tell you
You
one
don't
thing.
want to be like a little baby when you finally,
Thank
sometimes
you.
when you finally experience it. Can somebody, like any of the men here, like, I don't know if you'll feel comfortable enough, but when you felt loved a proper way by a woman, didn't you feel like sometimes you just want to be in her arms? I'm not saying she needs to be your man, but
that's
like,
different. You see, that's different because look, guys, this whole submission thing that you're talking about, and men can be submissive, and you see, when I was like, there is one sense of submission. Submission is for when I say that, it's the same. For us, we look at it the same way. When I'm with,
are you sure?
yes,
that
I'm
you,
talking
all
about
of
for
you-
us. I'm talking about for us.
You
We
know,
say it
for
the
me,
same way.
Submission, I think, and for even the boys, it's just respect, to be honest, and listening. That's it. Understand that.
And for
I'm
you?
captain-
That's what I was gonna say. Submission is looking at me in a relationship and saying, I have chosen this guy as the guy I've chosen. I trust him, and he leads the relationship.
Even if that decision
That's submission.
goes down, you trust that
I would pick it up.
I'll pick it up. I'll bear the consequences.
You are you
But the
there?
problem we have with females, they don't understand that is submission. You need to trust that
Yes.
we could be wrong,
I think
but we would take responsibility.
But don't you
Yes.
trust your
That's
woman
the
enough?
that's the
I think
Let's say
problem.
you make very big decisions for the whole household. Don't you trust your woman enough to have a conversation with
You
her?
see,
No,
thank you. Wait, but that's what I
I'm
just
not
said.
saying she needs to
No,
make
but
a
look,
decision.
no, but you see, that's what I said. In a proper submission situation, what happens is we come across a scenario that needs a decision. What I'll do is I'll say, we sit down and we talk about this is our scenario, what not, what do you think? You tell me what you think, we discuss and so on. At the end of the day, however, you might say, let's go left. And I will say, we are going right. Submission is to say, you are the guy I've chosen to lead the relationship, to lead the family. I disagree with this particular decision, but I'm gonna stick with you.
Yes.
I make that decision and we go we go
agree.
right. After we go right, I happen to have made the wrong decision.
But
It's
you
not
talking
then.
to her because you
Of
want to
course,
hear her
of
opinion,
course,
and because her
of
opinion
course,
might be valuable
of
enough for
We are
you
not
course.
to change your
disregarding.
We are
mind.
not disregarding that.
that.
But then after
No,
we
but
go
that's
right,
just I'm just saying that
Yeah,
at the end of
confirming.
the day,
Exactly.
I'm confirming that
exactly.
Mhm.
And then after we go right, let's say I happen to have made the wrong decision, right? It's then being submissive is then not to say, oh, I told you so, and what not. No. It's to say, babe,
We
things
tried.
are now going south. I know this is the decision you made, but remember what we discussed. And for me to now be the man who you chose, who you trusted, to be like, you know what? You're right. I made the wrong decision.
I think
This
just
is how
like
we
you
are going to
quoted
fix it.
Pointed feminists,
That's submission.
even though there is not like one association of feminists all around the world,
Oh, of
usually
course.
it's like you're talking about extremists that say like, let's hate men and create a way to have babies without
No,
them.
I think
Like this is the extremists that usually
Yeah, no, they are
people-
extremists.
But wait, this is the extremists that usually people are quoting. I mean, like in this situation, like you have a conversation with your wife, and I feel like sometimes women are just allergic to words like submissions because there are certain people in a public discourse that use this word in a way that I would never agree with. Just like you feel certain way about feminism because you hear certain
You
things, I think that submission might mean different things. And if you had a conversation and explained that to you, it means we are listening to each other. You are trusting me and all of this. A lot of women would say, yeah, but if you just use the word submit, they might be using what they've heard in like media from extremist people or something like
No,
that. I
but-
feel like this word
No,
is just
but-
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
I was about to say the same.
I agree.
Because of you're creating an excuse.
Yes.
When you're submissive, you are submissive. Whether someone tells you to submit or not, your man tells you to submit or not, you already know that that's the point. It's more the work being done, not how it's being done.
I don't feel like anybody
No, I
has
think-
to
I think
enforce
the
it on
biggest-
me. So
I
the
thi-
moment it's enforced, I think that's when people rebel.
No, I think the problem that we
The
have
moment
as
it has
girls,
to be
wait,
enforced, you're
Brandon.
already not submissive.
No, Brandon, wait. I think the problem that we have as girls, especially women our age and the girls that are following behind us, we have this idea that being submissive means you have to be on your knees, wiping the floor. You have to be in the kitchen, cooking, cleaning, doing all this hard labor for the household in order
But
to
that's
function.
what I'm saying. Where did it come from? Because people are
But that's-
labeling that word
but
this way.
listen,
and if you type in submission on the
no,
internet,
but
you're
Eva-
gonna see people on the leash.
No, but
You know what I
Eva-
mean?
but, but this is not our fault. This is not our
Let's
fault.
give them what they want to hear. Now, let's come for the men who treat women that way because it does happen.
It does.
And it is happening.
And that's why we say follow the right process of vetting.
Of who?
Vetting.
Vetting. So vetting is
I don't know what it means.
so
Vetting,
it's
like
a
checking.
courtship. Are you aware of courting?
Kind of.
Coaching there.
Get the
You see, that's what I mean. This is what you see when
No,
you
but
type
this
in
is
submission.
no, but
Look
honestly,
at this
no,
woman
but
crying for
but
help.
listen, if you are an educated person, you would see Kuti, this is a sexual submission because you've got what are they
But
called,
we
dominance
argued,
and
but we argued that there is a what we want and there is a reality, and most people are not intellectual. They don't develop themselves, and I'm just
so
saying.
tell
that,
me why you would allow yourself to be with a man who is not on the same level as you when
I
it comes to
wouldn't.
these things. Yes, so when you're with a man who
So as a man, why would you allow yourself to be with a woman who is not on the same level
because
as you?
sadly women we can never measure up to men. That is the honest truth. In as much as you think you're going to be so educated, be a CEO and whatnot, you can even find the greatest CEO woman in the world, she will never measure up to a CEO man. Not just financially, but even because listen, the way
Emma, do you agree?
the way men think,
I don't.
the way men think, listen, the way men think and the way women think, I would
But she's raising her hand.
I would want to work for a company that is run by a man. If I'm in a team, I would want my project to be run by a man.
Okay.
Because men can separate their emotions from business. You get it? Like he can come into the office and be business logic,
but do
logic.
you work in a big company?
Right now I'm not working, but I used to, and I would always prefer being in a team that is being that is being led by a man, because my experience in that same company when I had a team lead who was a female was not a great experience. It was oh my
Is
god,
there
I've got a meeting
possibility,
with this
though,
person.
that this is a private experience?
No.
Based off of your experience,
I've
you think
I've
that
seen
it's
a lot
all
of
women all
scenarios.
across the
It
board?
is
Not all,
certainly
not all. There's
Not all.
Not
Listen,
all,
that's
but
the thing.
never
I'm
all.
not saying all women will be bad
Sorry,
leaders.
Brie.
I will
Sorry,
not say
Brie.
anything.
But then,
Please
okay,
Fuck my
I'm
friend.
going to say from the Bible point of view. In the Bible says, in the beginning, God created who? Adam and Eve. Right? Adam first. Then
God
Eve.
created Adam. Yes, thank you for that correction.
For the
Just have to
correction.
find that
My
out.
point is basically this whole like conversation that we're having. God created Adam and Eve, and then the fact that we're not even supposed to be in competition or whatever with each other, because Adam is the leader, the boss, and then Eve is the secretary. We're supposed to be helping each other.
Secretary?
Yes.
Mhm.
They're supposed to be.
It might not be a correct term if you
It's not
you
the
look at the
correct-
meaning,
But
but
then think about it.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah.
I'm
Because
listening.
if we're supposed to be in competition with each other as men and women, God would have created us separately. But the fact that God took a rib from Adam and made Eve, it means that we're supposed to be one at the end of the day. So this thing
this is why
whereby
you are educated, my friend. Oh wow.
so everything we can say whatever we want, but in all actuality, we can say men. They're there best for a reason.
Thank you.
And we're not supposed to fight it. or
Thank
anything.
you.
We're supposed to support each other. We're supposed to help each other. The woman is supposed to be the support for the men.
Yes.
Because that's just how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
So how do you do that
Yes.
fully
You
in
submit.
today's reality?
You
That's
submit.
the-
No. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I understand that you
Yes.
agree with each other.
But then
I'm just
in
saying,
today's reality,
like we have like we said before, there is a reality of today.
that's true.
And I'm not saying that you cannot find what you're looking for. I'm just saying that the world is a little different. And the world of the Bible was the world where women didn't have a vote, where
We
women
should go back
didn't
to
work,
that word.
where women didn't, like, the reality was very different. We cannot put it one-to-one to 2023 that we are in right now. That's all I'm saying. So we have to adjust some of these things. I personally, I was raised as a Catholic. Right now, I'm not submitting to this thing. But I'm just saying, like, even as a believer, there's a lot of things in the Bible, like you shouldn't wear jeans, you shouldn't eat shrimps, and stuff like this that people just overlook. And I'm like, we live in a different reality that we have to adjust it to. We can't just pick and choose that we're gonna take this, but we're gonna eat shrimps. We're gonna live together.
I can
getting
answer
married.
that.
We're gonna do all of
I
this,
can-
but just choose one that we're gonna stick to rigorously.
I can
Like,
answer that. I can answer that. And I go back again to the foundations of it. We all understand that the world has changed. It's no longer the same. And that's why I keep going back to the expectations that people have are very fundamental and basic. And that's where submission plays a huge part. Especially, like, the reality of it is it's really not too difficult to have a happy husband. It's really, or a happy boyfriend.
You
or happy,
cheat,
it's
but
really,
you'll be happy.
it's really not too difficult. And the reason why I say that is, ask any guy in a real general setting, obviously a guy who doesn't want to sleep with you, who's not gonna be telling you,
Things you want
make
to
you
hear.
happy things.
Yes.
But
Ask
did you
any
notice
guy-
as both of these girls were talking about how they can make their husbands happy? And I don't think you've said over the course of this 3 hours conversation, how would you make your wife happy?
That, you see, that I can answer.
But you didn't
That
say
I can
it.
answer.
You see
No one
how
asked.
You continue
No one
talking
asked.
about-
Our conversation
No one
has been in
asked,
that
but
direction.
no one asked you about all these things
Our
that they
conversation
said.
That's been our direction
Hey,
of our
don't
conversation.
attack my person.
That's
We
been
were
the
having
direction
very
of our
general
conversation.
conversation.
Anyways,
Just it was a very general
I'll finish your
Yes.
point.
Now-
I'll finish your
now
point,
you've
and then
asked
I'll
the
get.
question.
I'll finish your point, and then I'll
Okay.
get. I'll finish your point, and then I'll answer that question.
Okay.
I'll finish my point. Sorry. So for guys, it's very, very few things, and submission is one primary thing. Why? Because any room we walk into, I was saying earlier, we are always in competition. The biggest thing you can do for me is for me to walk into my house, and for me to feel like I've walked into my house where I am the man, where I am respected, and where I am seen as the leader. That alone, you have to understand, there's a reason why men get that kind of excitement from success.
I hope you
There's a
find
reason.
that.
There's a reason why we walk into a room and we see guys who respect us, and we walk into a room where we are respected, and we stand up tall and we are proud, because that is what we want. That is what we need as men. And when we don't have that, that's why you see men who are miserable, because they are not respected. They walk into any room, they're invisible. No one dares to listen to them or sees their opinion has any value. And so our duty from the day we are born as guys, we are always striving to eventually walk into a room and have people look at us a certain
But
way
what
and
is
respect
this
us.
demand?
Now,
It's
When
called
you
an
want-
ego.
No, I'm saying
It's not an
I didn't
ego.
say
It's
ego.
It's not
But I
ego.
didn't-
That we are
It's not
taught,
ego.
we
That's-
grow up
just-
being taught
we-
that
But
we
what
should
if there's 10
we should
men?
caress this
What if
ego.
there's only 10 men in the room? You know what I mean? It's like you're talking all of this as if a woman is the only person.
You know the statement.
but
You know,
empowered
no,
women.
not that. No, that's
Wait,
not what I'm
sorry,
saying.
hold on, Brennan. You're talking about men being in the same room. Do you know that if you actually put 10 men in the same room,
Mhm.
they can have a bottle of whiskey or whatever, or even just be drinking water. But the way they would talk to each other and address each other, this is why you can put random men in one room. By the end of maybe 30 minutes or even 15 minutes, they're friends.
And there's
And
a
they call
hierarchy.
each other, hey, my guy, when we sat down and we spoke, wait, sorry, baby. When we sat down and we spoke about this, there's an opportunity here, and I just thought of you that when you spoke, you made sense in that room. Come through. You put women in the same room. We don't do that for each other. This is why when you have
That's
a company,
my experience
but wait,
again. I can only say that
it's
I
okay.
believe you, but
It's-
not my
it-
experience.
It's okay. It's not your experience, but
Yes.
there are women experience this every other day. There are women that will go into a company that is ran by other women. I'll give you an example. My sister's best friend. She works for a NGO that's women based about violence and whatnot. But when you hear some of the things that she says about her colleagues, you would be so sad that they literally step on each other. You get it? As compared to you sit here, you have these guys sit together, the 5 of them. They'll come up with a business plan. They will do
But
this
in the
for
same
each other.
company, if it was just men, do you think they wouldn't compete for the top position?
They would, but they would do it in such a way that you wouldn't have someone say they're leaving the company because of this. You have to appreciate that they also have an experience that they've went through with other women or other men that makes them guarded. Because
But why we make so
No,
many
don't leave the
excuses
camp.
for men,
Oh,
but we don't take under consideration that women can have the same bad experiences or traumas? Like, we are all
But
humans.
I feel like that's where you're having the problem. You're trying to equate our experience with men.
I'm
but
not. I don't have a problem.
It doesn't work like that. So
I want to say the nice thing about men is that when they're in this group of what, let's say it's just the 5 of them. The thing about men, if they see an opportunity, they can fake it till they make it, until they get what they want, and then they can start building the friendship. Women, it takes us time to then open up to someone. So that is why probably when we enter a room, we're all so nasty to each other, because we don't give each other that fake energy. It's to the point, which, okay, I don't know you. Why should I act like
And
I know
also,
you?
you have to appreciate that we all have experience with other women.
I mean,
where you've come into a space and you're nice and you're given a cold shoulder.
All right, let me
But you,
let me
when I
add
entered,
on to
I'll
that.
give you just my personal example.
Yeah, it's
I mean, I thought it was okay for
No,
us to
yeah,
give
no.
you
Yeah, no, of course.
Speak.
So when I was starting to sing in a group, I was 18, and there were only female singers in the group. They just welcomed me, and I was even surprised. Not because they were women, just I was surprised because I was expecting that generally in the industry there's a lot of competition, so I would think that they will try to be mean to me. But they just showed me love and nothing else, and they welcomed me. That's just one of the examples. And I don't disagree that there are women who will fight, play dirty, or do bad stuff to each other. I just think that, we are some of our experiences. And generally, I would like to thank you guys for this conversation. I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate the invitation.
Before you close up, I would like to add something to your point, just to point something different from your
But I would
industry.
like you guys, since girls gave you such a nice...
Yo, I have to respond to your
But
question
since
as well.
they-
Okay, yeah.
But since girls gave you such nice, actually in the course of this conversation, both of the girls and I think all of us said something nice about men. Maybe you guys can say
I want to
something
answer.
nice
I want to
about
answer your
women.
question. I want to first answer your question.
Okay.
I want to first answer your question. So first, to point out something you said about your industry, about the way you were received by the other women. One difference in a work setting and your industry is that talent is very definitive. in a music industry. If you have talent, it's undisputable. Whereas imagine in a business setting where you have to show over time your standing.
I disagree so strongly with this.
If you have a nice voice, you have a nice voice.
But that's how you think.
Can't argue
that's
that.
How you think. But you don't. Okay, I'm not going to go deep into the music industry and how it works and how entertainment industry works. But it's a business like any other. You can have a mother, father, uncle. You can have money. You can come from different circumstances. It's a business like any other. You can be very talented and never get your shot. So
that I agree with. That wasn't my argument. My argument was in a setting of.
I'm just saying.
I was just.
I've sang with people who can't sing for a day, and they still make careers.
Okay, I see. Okay.
So because talent you cannot measure it. Like when you have math, you can solve it. You like either it's good or not.
True talent.
When you provide for a company, you either make money or you don't make money. When you're in an entertainment industry, it's like people either like you or don't like you. So it's not even based off of your talent. It's based off of many. But I don't want to go deep.
That's a different. Now to answer your question. Now to answer your question about what women want. That was your question. Right?
No,
what I think. How I would treat a woman, or what a woman would want from me.
Yes.
Okay, so that comes in two versions of the answer. First answer is how I would treat a woman is entirely based on what I view as my responsibility as a man. So my responsibility as a man encompasses being strong enough in character, physically, mentally, emotionally, to be able to stand as the man in the relationship and to lead the relationship. That's one. Two, being of such a mindset that once a woman has chosen me and I am placed as the leader in that relationship, I am able to do what is necessary in order to provide for the family and to make sure that our family grows well and we're able to raise our kids and do what we need to do together. And generally speaking, in terms of what a woman wants, I would add being able to listen and be supportive of her. Because if I'm able to listen and be supportive, whenever she needs me, I'm there. And whenever she needs an ear, she needs a shoulder, I am there to support and to help however I can. That's what I would say is my responsibility as a man to a woman. Now, the biggest issue that comes with that, the listening, this is sort of covered when it comes to listening.
So this is over for the things that you would do.
No more. It's in addition. So this is in addition to the listening aspect. To the listening aspect of it, a woman then comes with additional things, whether it be her personality, her life experiences and whatnot, that she needs, right? Stuff that she will express. I would like these certain things this way, or I need additional, let's say, emotional support, or I need a specific thing. And my ability to then sit there, listen, process it, and handle it like a man is also something I should provide. The problem now that's become an issue in this whole relationships thing is that things have become so materialistic. Okay, I'll leave the problems out. I'll leave the problems. That's another discussion. We'll leave it there.
I'll drive what my brother is trying to say. Right?
I would say, to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Like, we have different perspectives. We agreed to this. We come from different backgrounds. We have different opinions. But say something nice about women before we end.
Didn't I? Women are the most beautiful things on planet Earth, guys. Like, there is no denying this.
If she does not have enough, she'll get cheated on.
If she does not have enough shoe, I will cheat if she doesn't have enough. I said that.
Yes.
Did I say that? Yes, I did. It's not that it's a right thing to do. It's just me knowing me. And
but how is she
gonna
change how much Nya she has?
Jim.
I'll tell you the truth.
You already with her. She has that Nya when you started.
I'm like,
don't protect me.
You meet the love of your life, but she doesn't have Nya.
G, don't protect me there. She cannot be the love of my life if she doesn't have Yash. Let's start. Let's start. Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Please, I'm sorry, but I want to heavily disagree with Abdul. The minute a woman says, I want a man with a big dick, and if he doesn't have, I will cheat, it will be a problem.
No, it won't. That's the problem. It won't.
Have I said
It won't.
Have you been with a guy with a small dick?
Personally.
How did you happen?
Let's talk about personal experience.
Okay, I lose this one. I haven't been with a guy with a small dick. I surrender.
Yeah, final words. Women are beautiful.
Many things that are beautiful about women.
Go around and say something nice about the other gender.
The best thing I can say about women is the fact that the reality of the matter is men ultimately are nothing without women. And that is the biggest strength of women. They don't realize how much power they hold in men's lives. And we ultimately strive. Like our whole life we are striving to find the right woman. And that is the most beautiful thing about women.
Has to have
Only if they can realize that.
You guys didn't let me speak on that. I never
You've said enough, sir.
I never said it's right, and I never said I go about cheating. Okay, I'm just saying it's like picking something.
We moved on. Now you say something nice about women.
Women are the most they're the most beautiful thing that's ever happened, at least on earth, to us. Without women, I think our lives would generally be meaningless. I say this even with my younger brother, right? Or even the upbringing I have with my dad. I'm one who really likes to provide. I notice I actually really care about spending on myself. And I always am fine and okay for some reason spending on the females around me. And it's not just my money.
Drop your digits.
It's not just my money. It's not about money actually. It's time. And I figure I sit and I ask myself, I ask my brother, I'm like, hey, why do we work so hard actually? Have we ever thought about that? I think I don't remember when this was, but I put on the same type of clothes for years. I really don't care. But when my woman would ask me,
the way you
yeah, and everyone around me can
He's
attest to
making
that.
the light skin face if there is one. Eyes closed.
I'm doing something.
I'm gonna have to get in on camera because
So
I can
everyone
see
can
you.
attest to that. So for me, I know one thing for sure. I sit and I think and I tell myself, this is what I look forward to. I look forward to having my mom being super happy. I look forward to having my sisters being super happy. You never hear me say I'm grinding for my brother, my younger brother, or my big brother. It's either my mom, my sisters, or my woman. And so I do know how important they are in my life and in the life of men in general. But that's real women also. That's real women.
Let's keep it positive generally. I can say about men, I love men. And I feel like I probably cannot be as vulnerable as anybody else than I am with a man, that I'm dating or that I'm in a relationship with. And I love men, period. They are great. You guys have a lot of positive things to you. Because I'm going to keep it positive right now. Yes. And I love having conversations. Since I was a child, I loved just being, not in a sexual way, but just being with a man as well and hanging out. And I just generally would love for us to be closer to each other and focus on the things that, we have in common and that get us together, because we are a powerhouse. Like, me and my men are a powerhouse, period. So I love men. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
You're the last one with the men.
That's all I have. Men are men.
Yeah.